I wanted to talk about Myles Brennan and the faith that this coaching staff has in him, because we've talked about hearing the coaches and where they stand with him and actually believing it. And I think another point to say, hey, they're pointing towards the belief is when you look at the transfer portal, and you can go to 247 Sports, they do a great job. It pulls up all the positions. You can click quarterback. It's going to tell you everybody that's been in that portal. You look at JT Daniels from USC. You look at KJ Costello, who went to Mississippi State, going to be eligible. Jamie Newman, Wake Forest, Georgia, going to be eligible. De'Aaron King, a big name that LSU fans talked about, going to Miami, going to be eligible. Keaton Thompson from Louisiana, going to be eligible. Going to Virginia. Felipe Franks. Now, Felipe Franks, but Joey Gatewood as well, going from Auburn to Kentucky. Tagovailoa going from Alabama to Maryland. And these are people that LSU recruited at one time, had relationships with, and
in a lot of cases,
they weren't active trying to get these guys to be graduate transfers to come into LSU. And the last time LSU did that, it worked out pretty well for them. And they had quarterbacks that they knew were going to leave if they went and got Joe Burrow, but they didn't care because they felt like they needed to get a grad transfer. They did not do that this time. And there's some quarterbacks with some real talent that are going – look, Derek King's going to do great at Miami. I think Jamie Newman's going to play well. Now, the expectation levels, I think, are a little too high, but he's going to play well. KJ Costello is a real NFL prospect that's going to do well at Mississippi State. JT Daniels, a former 5-star guy. Now, I know he would have to get a waiver still, but the other guys that I mentioned are eligible today. And I think that shows you the confidence this coaching staff has and the fact that they didn't go out and search for a grad transfer to come in and compete with Myles.
No, I think they do. And I think there's reason for it. There's so many things to like about Myles Brennan. Talent is there. Age is there. I wouldn't go as far as experience, even though he has played a little bit. I mean, it's a guy who was asked to come into the Troy game and lead him all the way back, and it's a guy who was thrown into the fire in Tuscaloosa a couple of years ago as a freshman, trying to throw it there, and he's played in some mop-up duty, including in a national semifinal. So he's seen a lot. He hadn't played in a ton, but he's an old guy who's been in this system for a couple of years now. And I realize that everyone's going to go, oh, well, it's Joe Brady, passing game coordinator. He's been around Steve Ensminger for a few years. He's been in the Joe Brady system for now almost 2 years. I think it's a good spot for him, and I think that the talent around him makes things pretty doable. I don't want to say easy. That's not a right word. Doable for a quarterback, and he's got every ability to do that.
I think it was about buying in and a lot of talk. Okay, is he going to have the same mentality? And I understand when you looked at Myles and you're like, okay, is he putting in the work that Joe Burrow did last year? Well, honestly, he didn't. He didn't have to. He wasn't the starter, and I know you should always prepare to be the starter, but now that it's become his team, you can see a change in Myles. And let's not forget, he's going to have the same schedule as Joe as well. Myles just graduated. So Myles is going to have the online courses, the 1 or 2 classes, whatever that might be. He's going to be on a pro schedule. And now that Myles Brennan knows what he has to do, he's learned under Joe Burrow, like Steve Ensminger said. This is his 4th season with Ensminger on staff. Now, one of those is not as a coordinator, but they still interacted every single day, even when Matt Canada was the coordinator. So they have that interaction. And you're right. There was a point in 2017 when a lot of people wanted him to replace Danny Etling, and he pushed to be the starter. Now, he never took over that spot, but he did come in some spots where Danny was struggling. So he does have that experience, which I think is very important. I'm not sitting here saying that we're going to get a Joe Burrow season. We might not ever see that again in the history of college football, but I think you're going to get a damn good starting, solid, valuable SEC quarterback.
I do too. My question, I don't know if it's I don't think concern is the right word either. I think it's question. Does he have the toughness, leadership, edge, grit, nastiness to him that you need, or is he the guy that you'd like to have a beer with out on the boat? Because I think that Myles, naturally he's just kind of a good guy, but you got to put yourself in a mindset out there that's just a little bit different than you want to be perceived outside the lines. And Burrow has it in spades.
Yeah,
I just don't know if Brennan has it, and we'll have to see.
How many times have we sat here? It's so funny. Like Myles Brennan, and the conversation always turns to how much is he weighing?
Yeah.
That's always kind of been funny to me. And the Slim Reaper has been his nickname. He'll be okay in that. Like, let's put that now that he's a starter And Coach O even gave you an update. He's 218 pounds. Let's put that to the side. Arm strength. We know he's got that. I was sitting there with a couple of national guys for the Georgia LSU game. Guys that don't see LSU every single day or every single week, right? And they said, hey, 15 out of the quarterbacks, and they were looking at both squads, he's got the best arm of anybody there. I said, it's never been a doubt. That's never been a question. Now, the third part of this is, okay, you've got to buy in, which I think he's done, become a leader, which the fourth quarter program, it looked like he was. I was able to go out there and see that. But also the part of, I've got to prepare for every single situation. Because last year, number 9, it didn't matter what you did. And we saw 3 teams that were top defenses in the country try to change who they were because of him. He still was ready for it. Now that's the part that has to come. And that's the part that we've seen so far. Now, we didn't get a lot of spring practice. I would have loved to seen spring games, spring practice, more of the scrimmages in the game.
Sure.
We didn't get a chance to see that. So that part is the part that's to be determined, but it's trending upward.
I'm confident. I feel really good about it. I think that everyone needs to take a deep breath before the team takes the field and realize that it's not going to look as easy as it did and that he's going to miss some throws. Burrow missed a couple of throws last year, not very many, but it's going to happen, and that's just part of it. We got hypnotized last year, and we're going to have to come off that a little bit, but I think he's going to do a fine job. I think the offense is going to be really good.
I think you'll see them. There'll be more of a running impact, I think, this year as well. It'll be a little bit different because of the running backs that they have, and we talked about them, I think it was on Thursday, but you still got 1 and 6 out there as well.
Yeah.
1 and 6 are as good as anybody in the country. Both those guys, in my opinion, I think are going to be first-round picks. We know Jamar is. I think Terrace works his way into that. And I'll go back to watching the documentary on Wednesday, One for the Ages. Number 6 showed up a lot, and I think a lot of people forgot about old number 6.
He's tough to cover because he's 6'4" and has long arms and can run and jump. That's how you got to make him. And I always laugh. These people are fewer and far between, but they're still out there. The people that are like, oh, recruiting doesn't matter. And there are levels to it. I don't live and die with what socks kids are wearing to camp, but I pay attention to the class that you sign when it shows up on the paper. And I'm just telling you that my army of 4 and 5 stars is going to beat your army of 2 and 3 stars if we play way more often than not, and you got to go get those dudes. And they showed up.
Don't hate on 2 stars here.
I love 2 stars in their spot.
The only bad thing about Myles Brennan is he wears number 15.
Well, I've heard from someone that there's no swag in that uniform.
0.